Now to the future of a controversial oil sands project. Teck Resources is pulling its application for the proposed Frontier Oil Sands mine. It's located north of Fort McMurray. It would have been one of the largest oil sands projects ever. It had already passed a lengthy regulatory review, and the federal government was under pressure to make a decision this week about whether it could proceed. On the one hand, the promise of thousands of jobs. On the other, fierce opposition from environmental groups. Host of Power and Politics, Vashi Kapelas, joins us now from Ottawa. Vashi, what is behind this decision?
A couple of things, Susan. I now have in my hands a letter from the CEO of this company to Federal Environment Minister Jonathan Wilkinson. And it's a fairly lengthy letter in which the CEO goes over basically this conundrum that we've spoken about so often on this program and on CBC News between resource development and climate change policies. And he specifically, I want to bring up board, and one of these quotes says, "The nature of our business," Don Lindsay says, "dictates that a vocal minority will almost inevitably oppose specific developments. We're prepared to face that sort of opposition. Frontier, however, has surfaced as a broader debate over climate change and Canada's role in addressing it," essentially saying we've become this litmus test for this sort of tension between resource development and climate policy, and as a result, we don't think it's tenable. There are also questions about the economic viability of the project. The CEO had talked about that before, but definitely those are the reasons put forth in this letter today.
Yeah, Vashi, pretty interesting letter from the CEO. What is the political reaction likely to be?
The Premier has spoken, Premier of Alberta, Jason Kenney, has spoken with the Prime Minister. I'm told that Premier Kenney is furious. He also put out a statement today saying that the decision is disappointing, but in light of the events of the last few weeks, it is not surprising. Premier Kenney is pinning the blame for this entire thing at the federal government's feet, saying essentially that they have created the atmosphere or the conditions in which something like this would happen. He's pointing also to the blockades as evidence of the kind of protests and things that can stop a project like this from going forward. Now, I should point out, though, that there's a lot in this letter from the CEO that highlights a support of a more robust climate change, for example, of pricing on carbon. So there's a lot of critics of Premier Kenney coming out saying, well, this points to a lack of climate policy on your end, too. I think what this will end up being is a very, very, very tense political discussion over the next couple of days, Susan.
Indeed. Lots more on that tomorrow. Thanks very much, Vashi.